this, so we can get started here. All right, cool. Cool. So welcome again, everyone, to another episode of the Chili Willies podcast here in the Philippines. And tonight, I have one of my special friends here, special guest, a celebrity in his own right here in the Philippines. This guy does it all, from managing in the pro wrestling to doing podcast shows. And if you're here in the Philippines, you turn on a radio station, I'll let him tell you what station because I want to make sure I get it right. But he is on the morning show, if I'm not mistaken. So without further ado, everyone, this is the man, Mr. Stan C. What's happening, Stan?
Hi, Chili. What an honor it is to be on your podcast. You put me over way too much. Way too much. See, if radio was like wrestling, I wouldn't even say I'm a main eventer yet. I would say that I'm in a main event time slot, but I wouldn't say I'm a main eventer. So there's a difference right there. But yeah, I'm part of Wave 89.1. I have been for almost 4 years, but the economy being the way it is, we're on the bench, so it really sucks. So I've been really fortunate that despite that, I've been able to keep up with the creativity on the podcasts that I host. Nice. So there's the Wrestling podcast, which you have been on a number of times. Exactly. There's also my other podcast, On Deck, which is about radio DJs. So I get to let out the creativity over there, and the rest of the time that I have, I'm not twiddling my thumbs. I get to do other fun stuff like voiceover work, since we're all stuck at home, right? So that's what's keeping me busy.
Cool. I was going to ask you about the voiceover thing because here, I'm here, I'm watching a lot of TV or whatever when I'm not doing a podcast, and so I may turn to a television show and it may be American movies, but it has the Tagalog, talking. And I'm really struck by how you could do the voiceover like that to, kind of go into. I know we're gonna be going all over the place here, but on the voiceover thing, how does that work? I'm just really curious on how that works.
So there's so many different types of voiceover work that you can get into, right? There's the commercial work where you get to show the products and the brands, you talk about them, right? And you be the voice of the product. There's imaging work, which is one of the things I get to do where I'm the voice of a channel. I'm the one that says next on whatever program, for example, next time on Endless Love. So I record that stuff. The producers send me a script, and then I bang those scripts out here at home, send them back to them as MP3s, and then they overlay my vocals on top of whatever video they've come up with. There's also ADR or dubbing. So it's when the voice actors come in and they lend their voices to animation or to other actors who are acting in a different language. So I've done that as well. I've gotten to dub for Tagalog for a couple of mainstream American movies. So a couple of big budget American movies where they needed some additional voices. So again, not main eventer level shit, but I was there as one of the additional voices.
So check it out. Are you holding a script and watching a movie? Like, okay, let's say The Rock is saying something, but you're his character, but you're saying it to Tagalog. So do you watch the movie first? Because your lips his lips gotta go in with your sound.
Yeah, let me tell you, this syncing is super difficult because every language has a different cadence to it. Like the way we speak English is different from the way I would speak in Tagalog. Like I would say that my Tagalog is more deliberate than my English is, right? And for Spanish, for example, is way faster. So like they get to say so much in such a cramped amount of time. So when you're trying to dub in Spanish, it's so hard to try to fit and squeeze everything in when their mouths are moving 1,000 miles a minute. Chinese is a little bit in between English and Spanish, I would say. It's a little bit fast. They also try to get so much in because of the way their language works, right? So we'd be watching it. We'd be shown the scene. And then after like a couple of run-throughs, you're going to have to deliver it. You're going to have to start recording. And the script, like back in the day, it would be printed out on pieces of paper. But these days, everybody's trying to be more eco-friendly. So we've got iPads, we've got tablets in the studios for that.
Okay, because I'm laughing because I'm thinking about my childhood when I would watch the Chinese movies, all right, the kung fu movies, right? Mm-hmm. So we already know that like the Americans can't really, they don't know how to. I don't know if they didn't have the right timing or whatever. but you see the list, they go, and I kill you, you come with me. So I was just trying to figure out how that shit worked, but now it's much better. It's like the dubbing is totally much better now because, you can sit here and watch, I can sit here and watch a movie and listen to dialogue, but, you guys, it's like it's on point for some reason. It's really good.
I mean, this is also where the directors come in. Like the directors for these dubbing productions, they do a straight up great job with trying to make sure that everything fits within the dialogue, everything is written well, that the translations are accurate, and that you're able to really keep up with the pace of the actors. They're very OC about that, and for good reason, because that's where the money's at.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for for clarifying all that. Because a lot of people don't know that stuff. I didn't know it. I know it's some hard shit to do. You know what I mean? I know you probably get paid big bucks for that.
Oh no! I'm trying to get to that main event level money, man. But
you really?
Before I get there, I've got to grind it out and do what I can. So I'm really fortunate right now that I get to do this type of work for ETC, which is a local TV channel.
Right. Yes, I have that channel. Yeah.
So I'm the male voice of ETC. And
okay.
I've been doing that for about a year. Before that, I was the voice of Second Avenue, which is another channel in the same network.
So okay, hold on. When I watch ETC,
yeah.
What do you mean you the male voice? You mean on every show?
On every commercial. So for example, next time on whatever show, right? Or like there's let's say Mother's Day is happening in a couple of Sundays, right? So you're gonna hear a Mother's Day script. So if there's a guy on it, that's probably me.
Oh shit! See, that's some big level shit right there, son.
I
don't care what you say. For me, I mean, you. This is the Philippines. This is your country, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's big levels. That's some big time stuff, man. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah, what's awesome about that is the scripts they give me are mostly in Tagalog, and a lot of the voice work that I've done since I started in radio in 2010. It's been 11 years. Jesus Christ. But a lot of the voice work I've done has been in English. So to be able to do this in Tagalog and get to learn how to pivot and try to really get used to stuff in a different language is it's a challenge, and it's also a great learning opportunity for me.
Okay, all right. We got some people chiming in. We got Gus Global, Gary. We got Katrina. We got Ace. Everyone saying hello.
Hey, what's up?
We got Tina Marie from North Carolina there. So people tuning in. But now let's transition into that. Now that we're talking about, because we talked earlier a couple weeks ago about promos, wrestling promo, and for everyone out there listening, especially the young wrestlers here in the Philippines, this whole interview pretty much is probably going to be geared towards that. Talking about promos and everything like that. How difficult do you think it is for Filipino wrestlers to cut promos that are realistic and that will catch the attention of the fans?
Okay, that's a very layered question. Because the first thing that comes to mind is how a lot of the guys locally, and I'm gonna consider myself one of these, we normally struggle with sticking to time. And that's something that we've really been struggling with, from the matches to the segments to promos. So cutting a promo to me is actually like having a match, because you're still telling a story.
Exactly.
It just so happens that you're doing it with your mouth, you're doing it with your body language. You're not doing it with actual wrestling moves and holds, right? You're doing it with your words and with your body language. But it's still like a match because you're telling a story. And every promo has to have a certain amount of time. And I think the struggle with time management comes from the fact that back when the world was not confined to a pandemic or to a lockdown, we would only get to wrestle every couple of weeks or every month or so. We didn't have the regular shows like the wrestlers in the US get to have. So because there's such limited ring time, everybody's trying to milk that time for what it's worth. And you can't blame them because, you know this, Chili. We get a high from being in that ring.
Right.
So whether you're cutting a promo or whether you're wrestling, right? You get a sense of happiness and that high from being there. So you want to maximize that. So, okay, we're past that, right? You've got the struggle for time, and that's something that people got to work on. The second part is, I think that given our community, the wrestling community, how a lot of us grew up as nerds or geeks because of wrestling as a subculture. Like it's not mainstream, right? It's very niche. So oftentimes, a lot of us never really got to be the cool kids. So now that you're in the ring and people are watching you, you've got the stick in your hand. Everybody's got their eyes on you, and everybody
Right.
wants to maximize that. And that's why a lot of people, whether they're faces or heels, locally they want to make people laugh. And to me, that's another point that we really struggled with a lot because
Yes.
everybody wants to be the funny guy. Like if you're the face,
Yeah.
haha, you're funny, right? You're a great character. But if you're a
Okay.
heel, haha, you're sarcastic, you're snarky,
Right.
you're a dick, but you're funny. Everybody wants to be that guy. So what happens is a lot of people tend to forget that wait, I'm a babyface. My job is to get these people invested in me, to root for me, to feel sorry for me. Or I'm the heel, so people gotta hate my guts. People want to
Right.
see me get beat up. And if I'm a heel and I've got the mic, I've got to say something to really trigger them to want to beat me up.
Yeah, I've noticed that here, specifically more so in the Philippines. Well, first of all, toast, cheers.
Cheers,
What
brother.
what you drinking, bro?
I've got Tiger beer.
Okay, I got the Red Horse, of course. I got to stick the Red Horse. So anyway, but yeah, I noticed that it's more like here, and I want to stick specifically in the Philippines. The wrestlers try to pop the fans, but in a comical way.
Yeah.
Okay, on both sides, and to me, you lose out. That's not really how. That's not what it's all about. That's not what storytelling is per se in wrestling. Like you said earlier, the baby face, you have to feel sorry for me. You have to get behind me. You know what I mean? I'm your man. I'm your superhero. The heel is the villain. The heel doesn't come out and try to make you laugh. That's not what it was. That's not what it was about. I think a lot of the young wrestlers looked at maybe the WWE, WWF Attitude Era back in that time, and they saw guys like The Rock and Stone Cold and how they can galvanize a crowd at the time and then make them laugh at the same time, but also tell a story. But I think the young people forget that they're telling a story. Also, that it's not about just saying what. He's saying, you guys started saying what, he said what, but it's still a storyline. You know what I mean? You don't get caught up into that. And I think when you try to do it on the indies, it doesn't work because, like you said, you don't see the wrestlers every week.
Yeah.
It's like once a month or twice a month like that. So if you got new fans coming in, they're like, what the hell is going on here? I can't follow the storyline. You know what I mean? And so you have to tell that story per match that you're in.
Right.
And the promos, it has to mean something because that's the buildup, especially when you're not on television. When you're not on television, nobody will know who the fuck you are. They don't. They just pay their money to come see some entertainment. You better entertain them. They know that Stan sees a manager. They see that he's this heel manager or whatever. So Stan, he better go in there and heel his ass off. You know what I mean? And not just go in there and try to make people laugh. And so I think they kind of get it twisted. The young wrestlers now, but that's something they really have to work on.
See, I want to say something about that, about how promos at the end of the day they really do have to sell the story. You're absolutely right. I remember that somebody said this on a podcast. Somebody who went through Dusty Rhodes on in NXT, and they said that in promo class with Dusty, the number one thing they're taught is that when you're on the mic, you still have to sell the match. Like I don't care how good your promo is, if it doesn't sell the match, it's still a bad promo because it doesn't get the job done. So
Right.
I'm gonna tell you a story from the last ever promo I'd ever cut, and that was from the February 2020 show when Panzer went up against Robbie Eagles.
Okay.
So I went out there with the rest of MSG, and at the time, the MSG All Belts thing had taken off. Everybody in MSG was a champion, right? So we were heels, but we were starting to get cheered because we were like the cool heels. Like people were doing the MSG gang sign, and people were singing our theme song, which didn't even have lyrics, mind you. People were singing our names
Are you
on an
serious?
instrumental hip hop track. Right,
Oh.
and we're heels, right? So the idea is for them to get to hate our guts. So I went out there, and it was about a month after Kobe Bryant had passed away.
Mhm.
And knowing the Philippines as a basketball hungry country, I decided that if I'm going to go for cheap heat, I'm going to take a shot at basketball. And I'm going to take
Okay.
a shot at Kobe because there's nothing more despicable than taking a shot at a dead guy.
Right.
So I
Oh,
went
that's
in there and I said that, look at MSG. We're all champions now. We are the best in Philippine wrestling. I would say we're the Kobe Bryant of Philippine wrestling because we're so great. We're
oh,
all champions.
right.
And so they're like, okay, okay. And then I go, but unlike Kobe Bryant, none of us have ever been accused of sexual assault.
Oh, okay.
So I take that shot and everybody starts booing, and then I go take that one level further and I say, and unlike Kobe Bryant, none of us are ever going down in flames.
Oh, hell no. That's some heat right there. That should be some heat.
So that was the loudest I'd ever gotten booed. Like I literally felt the ring shake from the vitriol of the crowd. And that's when I knew that I'd really hit home because these people love basketball and a lot of these people love Kobe Bryant. So what I didn't know was that Main Max had a Kobe Bryant tribute on his gear.
Oh, no way.
Dude, that was awkward as fuck. Max is my boy. Max is my boy, but I didn't have
Oh,
the.
no.
I had to apologize to him when we got back to the locker room after that. So okay, so this promo happens, right? And it's the loudest I'd ever been booed. And then later that night, we're having dinner and drinks. The roster's having dinner and drinks with Robbie Eagles. And I asked Robbie, hey man, how was that promo? And Robbie tells me that, yeah, you did get the crowd to boo you, but what was the core story you were trying to sell? You were supposed to sell the main event, which was Chris Panzer and Robbie Eagles.
Right.
And I didn't necessarily get to sell that match.
You didn't stay on point with
Right.
you were trying to get the crowd to change their perception of, no, it's not a happy funny type thing, we're not baby faces, whatever. We're heels, which is
Yeah.
understandable. And that happens a lot too, especially in indies. You get lost in the transition and you start to go further away, like Robbie said, but it's really about the match. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's really about Panzer being the bad guy going up against Robbie Eagle, this guy coming in, and so that's one of those things, and I was going to say something. I had a point here. I think when people are doing promos, they should stick to things what makes WWE so good with that shit is they use personal situations. Personal, maybe it's maybe you have a girlfriend issue and Panzer stole your girlfriend, like the Lita
And Edge and Matt Hardy, yeah.
at that time, you know what I mean? So if you're a heel and you're trying to keep the crowd to really boo you and really hate you, you need to stick to something that's like personal or something that's going on around in the Philippines, or something, but that relates to your wrestling match,
Right.
And so those are some of the things that people forget to do. Young talented wrestlers, they forget to do that in their promo. You know what I mean? They're so busy trying to pop the crowd or pop the boys that they forget where they are. You got to keep that shit. Stancy, you whatever. It's about you and me. It's about you and me in that match. You know what I mean? And promo is an art, man. It really is an art. And the thing is, WWE now, and even AEW, all of them, you really got to be able to cut a promo because that shit sells. No one's gonna watch pro wrestling if everyone's just quiet. You know what I mean? You gotta get people engaged in it. And that's the thing. It's like Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. What built that fight up? Not so much that Floyd could fight. It's Conor. Conor was the heel. He was kind of like the face in the heel. He was kind of a tweener, but he had to sell his part to the people that, hey, I can go in and deal with Floyd Mayweather, whether he knew it or not. I mean, he probably knew in the back of his mind he couldn't do it. But he sold it to the point where it's like, damn, can this guy really do it? Just like these Paul brothers are doing. They doing this shit. You know what I mean? They selling it. It's what they're doing, you know. And the thing is, that's the same thing with wrestling. You know, you gotta really decide if you are heel, you know, how are you going to keep these people engaged in you to boo you, not cheer you. That's why I always used to tell my guys at AOW, study, man. You know, you got to study. This shit don't just come on. It just doesn't come naturally. You got to study it, and you really got to practice. You got to look in the mirror, because when you look in the mirror and you see yourself and how your facial expressions are, that's what the crowd's going to see.
It's not just that, Chili. I think the cadence and the way that you actually speak, and it's a lot of public speaking. And I've been very fortunate to have had a career in public speaking and hosting.
Yes,
so I came into wrestling already with that basic foundation. So like from the time I cut my very first promo, I already had the mindset of, okay, I know how it is how to be a host. So I know how to get reactions from a crowd. So now, how do I do that from the standpoint of being a character? Which is different, because when you're hosting, your job is to engage the crowd. Your job is to want to get them to shield the brand, to shield the event, to get them to join the contest or whatever, right? But when you're a character, your job is to get them engaged in the story. So how do you do that? And I learned from the very first promos that I cut that it's so difficult to break out of that that mold that wrestling fans have in their head. That when you've got a mic and you're in the ring, I'm gonna be cutting a promo, and I have to stop every couple of seconds so people can react to what I'm saying. So that's the default cadence, right? Like, and a lot of people in even in the big leagues who aren't as good on the mic, they kind of suffer through that as well. That's why I love people like Kevin Owens, who has his own natural cadence. When Kevin Owens talks, he really talks as if he's just talking to you one-on-one. He doesn't need to scream into the mic all the time. He's just going to tell you straight up, Sami Zayn, this is my problem with you because I think that blah, 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 Logan Paul, blah, 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 and at WrestleMania, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. It's his own cadence. It's very natural. Contrast that with somebody like Chris Jericho, who has many different styles that he's got in his arsenal. So Chris Jericho, in his prime, right? You know him as the Ayatollah of rock and roll, right? He's like, welcome to Raw is Jericho, baby! Right? So he does that shit. He's very hyped. But when he turned heel in 2008, when he had that Anton Chigurh-like character from No Country for Old Men, he really tried to go all Nick Bockwinkel on everybody. So the Nick Bockwinkel influence rubbed off on his promos and in the suits. So he ditched everything that made you think of old school Jericho. He cut his hair. He started wearing suits. He would, instead of talking in a hyper voice to get your attention, he would speak in these soft, hushed monotones. And that would force you to listen to every single thing that he said.
Right.
Take note that in an arena where you have a mic and an amplified sound system, that's a challenge. And if you're a fan and you come in there expecting a fire Jericho promo from the old days, you'd get pissed off, right? Because that's not what I came here to see.
Exactly.
So that's how Jericho pisses you off, and that comes from the goal of the heel, which is to take away what the audience wants.
Nice. That's good analysis. Good shit.
Thank you.
So now, when I see you as a manager, you're probably like are you the only manager here in the Philippines?
No. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only manager. I mean, like there are wrestlers who kind of play dual roles, like they're wrestlers / managers.
But you're not you don't wrestle. I'm talking like just straight out managing. You don't get in the ring and take bumps and on that. I mean, like on the regular.
Yeah. Would you count the MWF managers? I mean, people like Veronica Shannon or.
Okay. Yeah, they're more like the commissioner, but your role, like you were saying, as manager, you know, like you said, in the top with, you know, WWE and guys like that. There's certain guys who cannot. You know, Brock Lesnar is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you have Paul Heyman. Now, when I look at Paul Heyman and I look at Roman Reigns, I say, well, at first, I can see maybe Paul need to help him a little bit. But but Roman now has come into his own that he doesn't really need Paul there. You know what I mean? But at first, he to me he kind of had a hard time getting over on his promos. It wasn't like believable or whatever. But now he has really grown, I think, with doing his own promos. You know what I mean? But like you said, there's guys that cannot cut promos good. Bobby Lashley, I think, is one of them. He's starting to a little bit now, but he was the one that him and Brock Lesnar are like the same. They have bodies like gods, athleticism, But when they open their mouth, it's like Brock Lesnar was the best heel when he was in UFC. You see what I'm saying? Because he cut a promo, just talking trash in the UFC, elevated his status like that. It was like, whoa, people are like, whoa, But when he came back to WWE, he couldn't I don't know what it is. It's like fans couldn't get behind it if he opened his mouth, so he brought along Paul Heyman. You know what I mean?
No,
so
I would say that in UFC, the level of mic expertise of the guys there is so different from the level of expertise of the guys in WWE, right? Like the worst on the mic in WWE could probably succeed in a promo battle in UFC, just because that's not the skill set of those fighters.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to be fair here and say that. But to your point that people like Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, they've got managers, but one thing that binds them all together is that they're heels. So when you're a heel, you can kind of afford to suck on the mic as long as you have a good mic guy with you. As long as you have a good manager, right? People like MVP and Paul Heyman. Or if you want to go back to the classics, people like Mr. Fuji. People like Teddy Biasi when he was a manager, right? The problem is when you're a babyface and you can't talk. So I'll give you a couple of really good examples. Wrestlers that I actually really love. Chris Benoit and Jeff Hardy. When Benoit was champion, I was into it. I love Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. Those are my guys when I was growing up. And when I had Benoit on my screen as champion, I popped for that shit, but I also couldn't get fully behind it because I knew that he was a slouch on the mic. Right. Same goes with Jeff Hardy. I mean, Jeff Hardy's super charismatic. Everybody's really into him, but you put him in a promo battle, he will lose every time.
Right. That's true. I never thought about that. I never really thought about Jeff Hardy or Chris Benoit when it comes to their mic skills or whatever. I go way back, to someone like Bob Backlund when he had a manager, Skolin, Arnold Skolin, I think was his name. As a young person, I didn't really understand it, but looking back now, why did Bob Backlund need a manager when he was a top babyface in WWF for the longest, But when Vince would interview him, he was very nonchalant, very, well, Vince, I think I'm gonna go in there and me and Don Morocco's gonna have a great match, and but I really never heard his manager speak. You see what I'm saying? So I don't why did they even put him with him? You know what I mean? Because Bob Backlund, he didn't scream or yell. He was just very mild mannered, Yeah, I'm gonna go in there. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do what I can do, and then we're just gonna have a good match in Madison Square Garden, blah blah blah. But I never heard Arnold Skolin get on a mic, but he would go down to the ring with him. So I didn't understand that when it came to that. You know what I mean? But there are some baby faces that really can't cut good promos. Ricky Steamboat to me was mediocre.
Not that compelling, yeah.
Right. In NWA. Damn good baby face. Probably one of the best baby faces there were, with the selling and everything. But when he got on the mic and he would go against Ric Flair, Ric Flair's over the top, and then here comes Ricky Steamboat. Well, David Crockett, I think I'm going to go in there and, and we're just going to have to do it, And then even when he got mad, it's like, can you really get behind this guy? And I was a young kid watching that. And he Roddy Piper, but it never elevated. It never so I was like, wow, So you're right. Some of those guys that are baby faces, kind of hard once they get on the microphone to get over it. So you got to have one or the other in order to stay in WWE. Because look at Jeff Hardy. He didn't have the greatest mic skills, but his ability in the ring and what he did, I guess it really didn't matter.
I would say that the meta story of Jeff Hardy, how people were so drawn to him or have been so drawn to him because of his real life underdog story, like overcoming the addictions and all that, that also applies. It's kind of like Eddie Guerrero from back in the day. Like
Right.
after he got his life around, turned his life around, right? People really wanted to root for him, see him succeed because nobody hates a comeback story, right? Like we live for these
Right.
character development
Exactly.
moments. So
Right.
that's something that's in their favor. But what if you're a local wrestler and you don't have that big of a reach such that people have an insight into your real life and they can really follow your own struggles? So I'm going to point Chris Panzer out because he's an example that's close to home.
Okay.
Panzer, before he turned heel, was a career babyface. He
Okay.
was somebody who, good-looking young man. He's mestizo, so he's half German in real life. So, here in the Philippines with the colonial mentality, oh, puti, tisoy, white guy, handsome.
Okay.
It is what it is, right? He's got movie star looks. So the biggest problem with or I wouldn't say problem, but I would say the biggest obstacle at the time was how can Chris Panzer evolve when he's already been to the top of PWR? He'd already become champion, and
Okay.
now he has to remain interesting with all of these new faces that came up between 2017 and 2019.
Hmm.
So at some point, we were talking in the back, and we were like, we gotta turn Panzer heel. But how do you turn this guy heel? Because he's so handsome, he's so good in the ring,
Hmm.
right? So that's where the idea came in to put him in MSG and to have me be there as his heater. Because if I was
Hmm.
the guy that he was now clinging onto, then they would hate him by osmosis. Because by that point, I was already riling people up.
Right.
I was already saying things that really got under people's skin. I'd already made kids cry by that point.
Right.
So if they saw that their hero Chris Panzer would be aligning with a guy who wasn't afraid to make kids cry, then that would make Chris Panzer an asshole.
Hmm. Okay. Now let's go back into that PWR roster there. Who was probably the best person that cut a promo, babyface or heel? Who in your mind could cut the best promo out of the whole roster?
I'm gonna have to be respectful here and say it was Red. It was always Red.
Okay.
He might not appreciate me saying his name right now, but I'm gonna have to give credit where credit is due.
Hmm.
I always legitimately enjoyed the few times that we'd shared the mic in the ring,
Hmm.
and that really speaks a lot to his background as a performer, a comedian. He's used to being in crowds, right?
Right.
So I would say that it was really a challenge for me to think on my feet when I knew that I would be in there against him.
Okay. I would go with classical Brian Leo. I thought when before I even knew you guys, when I first went to you guys' show, I thought this guy, whoever he is or who he was, cut really a pretty good promo. From what I have seen.
Right.
And I still
No.
think he can really, as a heel, can really cut a promo like boom. I'm like, yo, okay, that's some good shit. You know what I mean? So
So he and I haven't spoken in years, and
right.
I think anybody who's ever listened to my work, to my podcasts, knows why.
Mhm.
But I will give him that, and that also speaks to his background as a theater performer. Like before he
Okay.
got into wrestling, he had a background in theater.
Okay. See, so all that, like you said before, public speaking, take a class on that because I remember when I started training, there was a guy that was training with us. His name was Toad. He was actually trying to get in ECW, but with CW, my trainer got in ECW. He didn't, but he was just talking. He wanted to actually, or he did started taking public speaking, and I had just got into wrestling and I didn't know why. I was just trying to figure out what are you talking about. Why are you taking public speaking? But then he broke it down to us, and he's because at that time Lodi had already went to WCW because he's also trained with us, and so he was telling us as students, doing public speaking will help you when you get out there and you start cutting a promo,
Yeah.
in front of a crowd because you won't get the jitters or whatever it would just help you, your voice, and everything like that. And so I never took a public speaking class. I would cut a promo when I was a heel or whatever, and I would just go on things that I saw or think like public things that was going on around us, and I would use that into my promo. You know what I mean? If it's race relations or whatever, just to get some heat, to draw the heat, and all that good stuff. And but pretty much when I would cut a promo as a heel, it was real. I wanted you to feel it. I just wasn't talking to a broad, crowd. I would pick someone out the crowd. Hey, I didn't know your name. I'd be, hey, what you looking at, boy? I would actually walk out of the ring with the microphone in my hand, go straight up to your face, and talk trash to you, and your girlfriend is there, or whatever. Piss the crowd off. You know what I mean?
And that would scare the shit out of me. You're a big MFer, and you're coming at me with a mic.
Bro, we would go to me and my tag partner. We were called the American Gangsters. We would go to a restaurant after the shows, and people were literally scared to come near us. You know what I mean? If we're eating or whatever, they thought that we were really like, and to some extent, we were a little bit gangsterish, outside of wrestling. We did our thing, but it was just, it was a wrestling thing, But we put it to the point that, if you fuck with us, it's gonna be a real fight. Literally a real fight. You know what I mean? That's what we wanted you to believe.
Yeah.
And we try to put the fear in your heart, And we would do that, And I look at the Dudleys. The Dudleys before they became babyface or whatever. Man, when there was ECW, they would almost start riots.
I've seen those videos, yeah.
I went to one of their shows and I was like, what? And so that's some hardcore shit right there, you know what I mean? And I don't know, the art now of cutting promos and making it real and getting people behind you. I mean, TV helps because you don't really have to do so much, it's just the storyline itself that's going to tell the story. But when you talk about indies, and you're not on television, you really gotta sell that. You gotta make people believe in you and believe in your character.
It's a lot of hard work. I'm gonna say this. It's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of studying that goes into it. And I'm not referring to like academics and books and all that all the time. Like the Mr. C character. Whenever I would heal it up in PWR, it was always about me pointing out the things that you were denying were true. Me holding up a mirror to society and saying that this is the crap that we're a part of. This is the crap we live in, and you're directly responsible for all this crap. So I remember I cut a promo on a guy, and I said that you are the patron saint of bad decisions, and the reason that you're around is because your father didn't wear a condom and your mother didn't have you aborted, and because the society doesn't teach sex education and blah 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 and all that shit. So I was tying it to real world issues, and given that the Philippines is very conservative, we don't talk about sex ed. When you go and buy condoms, it's always like, oh, that's so scandalous. He's buying a condom. He's gonna have premarital sex. Oh my god, right? So you have that bullshit, and then abortion is very controversial here as well, right? Like the more progressive people would be like, yeah, let a woman decide to control her own body, right? Like don't hold power over a woman's body. But I was advocating for these issues by being an asshole, because I said those things. Like nobody wants to be told that you're on this earth because your dad didn't put on a condom. Like nobody wants to be told that you're a mistake. You should have been aborted.
Exactly. That's some hardcore shit right there. We got some people looking and watching. But Martin, he's always watching, man. Thanks, Martin,
He's a good brother, yeah.
Yeah, he is, man. I love Martin, man. Jandal,
Hey, what's good?
Archie, Shelly McLean out of Canada, she's watching.
Hey.
So yeah, you got some people watching or whatever. But yeah, man, promo is very. That's hard. It's really hard, but a lot of wrestlers now, I think, before I think they just kind of like push it to the side, but I think they realize now that in order to really and somehow keep their job or keep them relevant or get them on television more, you have to have a mic. You have to your mouth has to really be something like Apollo Crews now. At first I really wasn't buying into that shit. You know what I mean? But now, the more he does it, even with the accent, I'm like, okay, all
Yeah, what do you
right.
think about that? Because you're a black person, and for some people, they think that the way he does it kind of appropriates it or
Well,
mocks it. But Apollo's actually Nigerian.
yeah, I agree. I didn't even know he was Nigerian. I didn't know he was, his family was, his lineage. And
Even Commander
so,
Aziz is Nigerian. They're legit
mm,
Nigerian.
I didn't know that. So he could, I mean, he was born here, I think, in America, if I'm not mistaken. So he has the right to take that accent. Until before I didn't know that. I thought he was just a regular, black American that didn't, and they just threw that on him. And so I was like, what? Why did he change his accent? You know what I mean? And but I don't know. That's WWE, man. They on a different whole level. But like I said, the more he does it, it's okay. It's getting over. And so I guess if you keep stuffing mother dirt down people's fucking throat, they're gonna accept it. You know what I mean? So
I would also say that being a heel doesn't mean that you just have to shit on the crowd all the time. Like there are different
mm-hmm.
types of heel characters, right?
Great point.
And
Great point.
that also carries over into promo work. So like just because you're a heel, it doesn't mean that you always have to berate the crowd because you can be the type
Right.
of heel like The Miz who doesn't always berate the crowd, but he just keeps on talking
Yeah.
himself up. He's the
Mm,
Miz. He's awesome. I've got a hot wife. I'm the
right.
star of my own reality show. I'm the star of the Marine franchise.
See,
He's
there
not
you go.
berating you.
He kept it real. This is real shit he's talking about. I think the more that you keep your you talk about what's real, the better it is. Don't try to go outside of something that you really don't know what you're talking about. He's saying what he actually feels and what is actually real. He has a hot ass wife. He's on a reality show. And that's a good point. Miz is someone, um, man. He's been around for a while. You know what I mean? He's not losing his. I don't think he's losing the spot no time soon. He's not
Yeah.
going nowhere no time soon. You know what I mean? And so when you look at someone like Randy Orton, what do you think about Randy Orton as a heel?
Randy
And
Orton.
his promo skills. Promo skills. I'm sorry.
So I'd rather see a Randy Orton promo when he's a heel than when he's a babyface because from everything we've seen of him, he's pretty bland as a face. So I always point to that 2011 program with Christian where Christian turns heel later on. They're fighting over the World Heavyweight Championship. And I just couldn't buy that this big 6'4", 250-pound guy whose body looks like it was sculpted out of granite is supposed to be the good guy against Christian. Like I could identify more with Christian's desperation because of his career arc and the meta narrative behind that. So with Randy Orton, what I love about him is that he knows how to look like a bad guy. My favorite Randy Orton story is how my dad once said, "Alam mo yung Orton na yan, mukhang demonyo yan eh." So that's Tagalog for that. Randy Orton looks like a fucking demon.
Mm.
This was, I think, in 2009 when Orton had a cleanly shaved head and no facial hair when he really just looked sadistic. So Orton takes advantage of those things, even like the physicality of it. Like he knows when to grow his beard out and to look more rugged and when
Right.
to look clean shaven because he
Wow.
knows he's a handsome guy and he can leverage that. So even the simple fact of just really manipulating your facial hair, manipulating your appearance, that's still part of character work.
Yes, it is. Speaking of, I'm doing that too. I'm growing mine out now.
I'm doing the same thing
Yeah.
right now.
I'm tired of shaving. I'm just gonna let it grow off for a little bit. I want to see some of the gray. I want to feel older a little bit. You know what I mean? But also, I think we talked before. Speaking to Guy Law, cutting a promo versus speaking English, cutting a promo.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
So my take on it has always been that you're better off speaking in the language that's most comfortable to you.
Okay.
So for me, whenever I was doing my promos, I started off doing everything in English because as a host, I would always have that switch in my head. I'm in front of people. I've got a mic. I got to speak in English because that's my branding as a host. And then I realized later on that I was looking very elitist. Here I am with my suits. I'm presenting myself as rich, as the general manager of PWR, and I'm supposed to get these people to like me, and I'm speaking in English all the time. I had to mix it up. So I'd start bringing in the Tagalog over there to try to bring the level down. Not to say that I'm dumbing myself down for everybody, but more of to bring myself to their level where it's not them looking up at me, but me looking at them in their eyes.
I see. See, I think if you're here in whatever country you're in, and that's like you said, if you're here in the Philippines and you're Philippine, you're Filipino, you speak Tagalog. To
Yeah.
me, for me, that's just me. You know what I mean? Because if I'm in America, I'm going to speak American. I'm going to speak English, not
Yeah.
American. I'm going to speak English. So yeah, I don't have a problem, with that. I think some people may have a problem with speaking, or it. What about half and half?
Half and
You
half is
know,
fine because here in the Philippines we're very bilingual, right? We understand English and Tagalog. We can speak both languages, but here in the Philippines we're a land of over 150 native languages, right?
Okay.
So somebody like Jake De Leon, JDL, his native language is Ilonggo. That's separate from Tagalog. And if he cut a promo in Ilonggo here in Manila, that's not gonna fly because we're very regionalistic as well. So it depends on where you cut it. Somebody like Gig Striker from MWF, for example,
Right.
he packaged himself as the modern day action star,
Right, I like karate
right?
guy. Yeah.
So that was his gimmick, and the action stars here in the Philippines, they never spoke in English. So whether it's the guys like Robin Padilla, Lito Lapid, Fernando Poe Jr. from back in the day, all of those guys don't speak English very well, but they knew their strengths and they stuck to their Tagalog, and that's why they were very popular with the everyman. So that's what Gig Striker was trying to emulate with his character, and I gotta give him props because to me that was pretty effective. He was a
Right.
guy who in real life wasn't the best at English as well, but he knew how to leverage that by just speaking in Tagalog. That's why his vignettes were all in Tagalog, and then the MWF team had the subtitles at the bottom. I thought that was brilliant.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that is nice. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're like the go-to guy. For me, I would look at you're the go-to guy when it comes to, the promos, and how to get across and everything like that.
I appreciate
What
it.
do what do you tell, or how would you help some of the young talent here in the Philippines get to a decent level of cutting promos?
So I was watching the Miz's WWE 24 documentary just the other night, and they showed that part where he was still hosting the Diva Search back in '06, and he just stunk up the joint. And he was afraid he was going to get fired. And then when he apologized to Vince later on, Miz tells the story of Vince telling him, "Kid, next time, bullet points." So
Yes.
start with bullet points. Those are
Right.
that's my top recommendation. So when I would go to shows, I would bring a notebook with me. I would make sure that I would iron out my points, and I would keep them to three. What are the three big points that I want to get across? So if I'm gonna tell a story, what are my beats? So if I'm gonna start, so this is my starting point. That's the first bullet, and then the next bullet is the midpoint, and then the next point is the climax. So it's
Okay.
really telling a story, right? Rising
Right.
action, exposition, climax, and all of that. So I would start with the bullet points. That way, you're also able to stay on track, and you don't go off in different tangents, and you don't waste time. So sticking to bullet points, that helps. It also helps to learn to get over the fear of eye contact. So remember what you said about when you were wrestling and you would get up in people's faces, you would look them in the eye and they would see a big hulking massive man right there in their face, right? If you're not looking at that person you're trying to intimidate, then it's not going to work half as much.
Correct.
So from the ring, you already have that that advantage of being elevated and you have the light shining in on you. So in a way that already puts you in a position of power psychologically against the audience. So by picking one person that you could zero in on, you can focus all of your energy on that person. So I would even advise to go for the kids. Go for the kids.
Yes, we always do that too.
Like if
The
you're a
kids.
baby face, you can pander to the kids. They're gonna love
Yes,
you. And if you're a
yes.
heel, you go after the
Definitely.
kid. His entire family is gonna hate you.
Yes, hell yes. That's a very good point. So if you're a young wrestler, you're trying to get some pointers, man. I hope you're listening to what Stan just said, because that's very true. You always go to the kid, and scare the shit out of them. Let
Kids
them
don't
grab
get
their
kayfabe.
mom. Yeah. That shit is awesome. You know what I mean? But I was gonna say what. I just lost my train of thought. What do as a performer. I'm trying to think of what I was just thinking about, but I lost it, man. I just lost it, Stan. I just lost it.
Well, while you think about that, let me share
Yeah,
another
go ahead, go
story.
ahead. I
This
just
is
lost it.
something that I tried to tweak and add to the Mr. C character towards the end.
Mm-hmm,
I'm sure you remember the red envelopes I would come out with,
mm-hmm.
right? I have one of them right now. So the red envelopes,
Okay.
in Chinese we call them hong pao or ang pao, and they're basically where you put the money as gifts for kids, right, or
Mm-hmm,
for the special people in your life. So here in the Philippines, if somebody gives you a red envelope, you're happy because you know you're receiving money. So
mm-hmm,
with the Mr. C character, I figured, why don't I use that? Because it's a universally recognized element,
mm-hmm.
and use that to bribe the ref or to bribe opponents. Because if I just whipped out money, I would be like Ted DiBiase, right?
Mm, right, 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 right.
If I told the guy straight up, "Hey, I'm gonna bribe you right now," while there's a match going on, I'd
Mm-hmm,
be taking away from the attention from the in-ring action. So
mm-hmm.
how do I get to tell my story of what I do as an in-ring performer, or as a ringside manager rather, while not totally taking away from the ring? I use
Right.
body language. I whip out the red envelope. People already know what it is. They're, oh, Mr. C is gonna bribe him. That no good Mr. C. He's gonna bribe his ass, right? So towards the end of the run in PWR, I would start to put in little Easter eggs in the red envelopes because people would be asking for them during our entrance.
Mm-hmm.
It was very babyface shit, right? So how do I
Right.
get them to hate me while they're asking for the ang pao? I would put in these little messages inside, kind of like a fortune cookie. So if you
Mm-hmm.
get the ang pao, oh, you want the ang pao? Here, let me give you the ang pao. You open it and it says, nobody wants to have sex with you.
Get the fuck out of here! Wow.
Or like, get a job.
Yo, that's some heat shit right there. Oh, I know. I was gonna say. Last night we interviewed Cal Davis. He's the commentator, one of the commentators for NWA Power, and he was, you echoed everything he said last night. Bullet points. You know what I mean? Because we asked him. I asked him. I said, so how do you have cue cards when you're out? You're doing interviews like that. He's like, no, 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 no. He said, I just go, the bullet points because it's better that way to feel it. And the same thing when you're doing a promo, you got to feel it, man. You just can't. Well, tonight I'm going to wrestle Stan here, the MCS, and we're going to have a great match. And you got to really feel it. Tonight, me and Stan C, we're going to go at it. I don't know what you're going to bring, Stan C, but I know I'm bringing everything and the kitchen sink. So tonight, brother, you better be ready. You better be ready. I'm telling you right now, you better have the whole Filipino army behind you. Because when I come, I'm coming with the thunder, son. Believe it. You gotta be that. You gotta feel that shit. You know what I mean? And you don't have to be like, what guys like Braun Strowman does because he's a big motherfucker.
And he's supposed to be a monster. He's supposed to be threatening that way.
Yeah.
You know who does it very well, where he brings the intensity while dialing it back? Aside from Chris Jericho, another example is Roman Reigns right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Roman Reigns, when he was a babyface, he was trying his best to be all cool and calm and collected. And then he realized that, okay, when I have to be a babyface, I got to turn it up. So he would start turning it up as well, right? Like with the ooh, ah, and all that shit.
Yeah.
Right? But now that he's a heel, he's tapped into a very confident and smug side of himself where when he's in the zone on the mic,
Yes.
he's just going to look into the camera and
Yep.
tell you straight up that when he's done with you, he's going to be raising his arm with that Universal Championship up in the air, and you will acknowledge him as your tribal chief.
Right.
So there's that. It's so calm, but it's also so sinister and so matter of fact. And it's very aligned with Paul Heyman when he says that everything he says, that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler.
Right.
When Roman Reigns says it, in a way, it's also kind of like a spoiler. Like, it's going to happen because he says it so confidently.
Right. And if you like, you're not a fan of him, you'd be like, oh, I want to see him get his ass kicked. You know what I mean?
I want to see him be proven wrong.
Yeah. It's like Ric Flair. Ric Flair was one of the best that ever done it. You know what I mean? Ric Flair would come out there, man. Look at my gold watch, daddy. You know, and my gold ring. You know, I'm wearing alligator shoes and $500 glasses, whatever. You know, and you see like, okay, even if he only paid $20 for that shit, the way he sold it, you would think, damn, that might be $500,000 watch, or you don't know, but he had you mesmerized every time. In his younger days, there was no one that could touch him. You know, Dusty Rhodes was great. You know, he was great. But when Ric Flair went out there, man, it was just a whole different level, man. I was like, whoa.
All those Ric Flair suits and watching Flair with Evolution, back in the day, that's what inspired me to really bring the suit game to PWR, to step it up, to make sure that when MSG was on that title trajectory, I told the boys, hey, we got to start dressing up really well. We got to show up and show out. And, that's how you sell it. That's how you sell that being with Mr. C means you make more money. You make more money, you can afford better clothes. You afford better clothes, you've got better self-confidence.
It's
That's
fun,
the branding.
You know, wrestling is a drug, man. It's fun. We love it. You know, it's awesome. I just hate that, this thing has happened that is sidelined everybody here in the Philippines. In America, a lot of my friends are working, man. They back to working. They've been back working, since almost like last November. So I'm like, damn, but here, we got to wait a little bit more.
Yeah, in Tagalog, we have an expression in colloquial Tagalog, sana all. We wish everybody could have that shit.
Yeah, and I just say, to the wrestlers who's sitting home, man, practice on your promo skills. I don't, you just got to get out there and practice. Even if it just means recording yourself on Zoom or just opening up a podcast and learning how to speak.
How to interview people, yeah, because you interview people, you learn how to be a good interviewer. And when you can be a good interviewer, you can control the conversation.
Exactly.
Here's another tip. I remember I taught a couple of promo classes back in PWR.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I brought there was impromptu speaking or extemporaneous speeches. So these are things that you do in class, right? Like in grade school, to learn how to do the basics of public speaking. And the concept is there's a little fishbowl and you draw a strip of paper and you get to see what's on it. You have 30 seconds to a minute to think about what you're going to say. And then you have another minute or two to just cut a promo on whatever that is. It can be something as mundane as peanut butter. Mm-hmm. Or cut a promo on a slipper. Right. Or cut a promo on these Bluetooth headphones. So if you can cut a promo on something as simple and mundane as a banana and make it sound compelling in a minute or two, then you're onto something.
Right. And you only, like you said, you only have I would say a minute. I would do when I was teaching ALW, I said cut a 1 minute promo. You know what I mean? You got 1 minute to cut that promo, and I give you like a 10-second countdown to it's the end. That's it. You know what I mean? Because when you're out there, it's not just television, but even when you're on an indie show, you don't want to sit there and cut a promo and it takes you 30 minutes to say what the fuck.
We've had to sit through 15-minute promos here in the Philippines. It was some of the worst shit. I swear to God. Like, I don't care how great you are on the mic or how you think that you can have everybody hanging on your every breath and every word. If you take 15 minutes to bang out a promo, you're taking way too much time.
Oh my God. Exactly. It does not take that long. Does not take that long. And then a lot of people forget, when you cut in a promo interview or whatever, who you cut the promo on, the time and date of the next or whatever when you're gonna fight that person, they forget all about that. Where it's gonna happen at. They talk about everything else, but where it's gonna be at. When is the next? We're gonna have a match at MCS, on April 25th. And you people better come show up because if you want to see a beatdown, this is what's gonna happen. But people forget that. They just ramble on, and it just kills everything. And I just hope that during this pandemic that people, a lot of the wrestling talent, while you're sitting around, brush up on your fucking promo skills because I don't think this thing is going to last forever, and we will get back in the ring.
I hope not. I would like that to happen, but given the trajectory in this country, sports and live events aren't going to be back until 2022. That's my fearless forecast,
Mm,
brother. I mean, like I'm with you. I want everything to
yeah,
go back to normal, but I also don't
that
want
sounds
people to
right.
die. So
Right,
like,
that's true.
you know,
That's
we got to
true.
get vaccinated. We got to make sure that we continue to follow these guidelines. Put your mask
Yeah.
on, maintain social distancing, fucking wash your
Hmm.
hands, all that good stuff. Because we don't want people to die, you know. But just to
Yeah.
bring it back to some of the happier times, I'm not sure if you ever caught some of the vignettes that we shot as MSG, because you know when
I
MSG
don't think
had
so.
become fully formed, we
Yeah, I
went
wasn't here.
we put a lot of effort into shooting these entrance videos, these promos with the people we were fighting, the vignettes. So like
Okay.
that's also still part of promo work, like learning how to produce these things. I
Mm,
basically learned how to direct a shoot on the fly because of my experience with MSG and PWR. So like
really?
I hooked up with a friend named Anton Chua. He's a filmmaker who's trying to learn how to how to shoot stuff, and he agreed to do these things with me and Ro Maran, and we would give him a sequence, and I had to rely on the things I learned in college as a broadcasting major, like what are the shots and the angles that I want. So
Hmm.
because MSG is a heel faction, a lot of the camera angles are with the camera from the bottom looking up, because you
Okay.
want these heels to be intimidating. You're looking up at them, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
had to frame these things. Or when we want to look really menacing, it's a close up, because I want to get that feeling where I'm looking at you in your eyes even though you're looking at me through a screen.
Right.
And then I would write these things and I would lay over my voice on them as if I'm cutting a promo, but it'll just be overlaid on them. Or when we were feuding with the likes of Cuatro, we would sit Cuatro down and we would shoot with him. He would say something, and then Chris Panzer would be responding on the other end. And
Hmm.
the guy writing their lines down was me. Like I would ask them, "What bullet points do you want? What bullet points do you want?" Then I'd come up with the words. So it's kind of like writing
Mm,
a song, and then
nice.
I'd be directing them from behind the camera. So that was a lot of fun. Something I really enjoyed doing because it allowed me to try to be the guy behind the camera but calling the shots.
Yes. Yes. So, do you have any aspirations of doing like a movie or anything like that? I mean,
I don't think I have the chops to actually have a full feature length movie, but that experience actually taught me that maybe there's something there. I can tell a story using video, so maybe there's something there. And for me, the biggest compliment was when I wasn't even the one advocating for Showtime, for the promo to be aired at the show. It was other people. Other
hmm,
people were like, "Yo, we gotta air that MSG vignette at the show."
wow,
So
that's
that's
awesome.
that's how you know that you're doing something right, because other people were recognizing it. I didn't have to put myself over. We just produced it. We just put it out there on the internet, and they were like, "Yo, this is fire. We got to put it
Right.
on the show. We got to get these
Nice.
300 people to watch it here."
Shit. What do you think? We're gonna get out of here soon, but what do you think, or where would you want to see the Philippine wrestling scene going after this pandemic? You know, once it gets back.
Well, for starters, I would like to have just a platform for everybody to work again. You know, I think that's what we all want, but we got to think big picture, man. Big picture is I want a homegrown Filipino talent in WWE. That's my
Okay.
goal. My
Okay.
goal is to have a homegrown Filipino wrestling talent in WWE or AEW. I mean, no disrespect to the halfies who are already in the US. People like TJP, Jeff
Right.
Cobb, Robbie Eagles, they all paved the way for us. But
Okay.
somebody's got to break through.
Yes.
What one of the homegrown kids out here, boys and
Mhm.
girls, has to break through, and I want to live to see it because I'll tell you this story. In 2016, when the WWE came back here for the first time in 7 years, JDL and I had a meeting with Chris Marsh. He was the former general manager of WWE Asia Pacific, and that's when we pitched to him the local wrestling scene, so he could know the Philippine wrestling scene and see that we can be a source of talent.
Mhm.
That turned into
Okay.
another meeting, and it turned into the scouting trip in January 2017, where Canyon Seaman,
Right.
the guy who recruits
Right.
talent, was here in the
Right. I remember that.
Philippines.
Yes, I remember that.
You were at that show, right? You were at
Yes.
that
Yes.
event.
I came late, but yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I know. I saw him there.
that meant so much to me. The fact that we had we had breakfast with with Chris Marsh, and then Chris Marsh brings in Canyon Seaman. Like, holy fuck! Like, we
Right,
actually made that happen. For me, that
right.
was one of the big turning points in the local wrestling scene, because that's when they became aware that the Philippines existed.
Hmm.
Crystal came so close to being part of the 2018
Yes,
Mae Young Classic,
yes,
and if things had shaken out differently, Crystal would have been that girl. She would have been
right,
the first homegrown Filipino talent to make it to WWE. So that's the goal,
right.
man. That's the
That's
goal.
the goal. Not television.
Um, I don't know. The Philippines has a long way to go
Do you do
towards
you but
minima.
do you think that would be a better way to get the brand out there so that people like AEW, WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact, NWA, New Japan would see that, if it was on television.
Here's how I'll answer that. You look at a market like India, where they have their own WWE programming catered specifically to the India market, because WWE recognizes how huge the Indian market is. If we're
Hmm.
talking television, I want to get us to that point. This is why I do what I'm doing. This is why I've been doing the podcast with
Okay.
Ro and with Chino for the last 7+ years.
Tino, what's up, guys? What's up?
Yeah, what's good to my boys?
Nice,
This is why
yes.
we've been doing this. This is why since 2016, I've been reaching 2015 even. I've been reaching out to TV networks to try to get the podcast, and by association the wrestling organizations we've been working with, to get that television exposure. I'm still doing that today, even though I've been in
Nice.
my room locked up for the last year plus. That goal's never changed. So
Mhm.
I'm not gonna tell you right away that the goal is to get one of our promotions on TV, because that's not gonna happen
Mhm.
immediately, right?
Right.
People have to buy into the fact that there is a wrestling community in the Philippines to tap in the first place. How do we do that? By legitimizing the nerd culture of wrestling.
Yes, yes, and that's why I wanted to do the Chili Willy podcast specifically on Philippine wrestlers. From all your brands. PWR, WUW, guys from the AOW,
Yeah, the free
NWF.
agents. Hey, I'm a free agent, so
Yes, yeah. I just whoever. This is what I wanted to do. I do the other. I co-host the other podcasts with my friend
I
Andrew
see it.
Campbell. But this specifically podcast, I wanted to just spotlight the Filipino wrestlers. And eventually I want to get around to all of them. You know what I mean? So I still got weeks, months, to go. But every week, that's what I want to do. I want to spotlight, the Philippine wrestling, because I want the people, my friends, on my Facebook page and in America to see. You know what I mean? Because I know some people. I'm not a big head honcho guy or whatever, but I do know some people. You know what I mean? So we just had Vic Foley on last week. That was awesome, really awesome. So that's really huge
He's a real one.
for
I've met the guy. He's a real
yeah,
one.
me
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So and that's the thing. I want people to know that there's wrestlers, and wrestling that's going on here in the Philippines. And so, yeah, I really hope that I share your sentiment. When you talk about you want someone homegrown to get there, and I believe that can happen. I really believe that can happen. But the wrestlers have to have their shit also in place. Okay,
Yeah.
you got to have your passport, right? Your body, because wrestling's not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not. Don't think that you're just gonna be a wrestler. You gotta. Your body has to look like a wrestler. You have to. You just can't
You got to be
put on some
believable.
tights. Yeah, you can't put on some tights and just say, I'm a wrestler. Hell no, who gonna believe that shit? You know what I mean? So
There's a reason that there's only one James Ellsworth, and that he was only really in WWE for like a year or two.
hmm
There are reasons for that.
right, exactly.
I'm not shitting on James Ellsworth,
No,
but
because he's a friend of mine now, so he's on my. We
yeah, no,
had him
no,
on.
no. I'm really not shading on him, but I'm just trying to be honest here and say
Mhm.
that there's a reason why you see more of the Apollo Cruzes and the Big E's, right? Aside from instead
Mm.
of like a James Ellsworth who looks like me. I was gonna say you and me. No, looks
Right.
like me.
Right, just the average person, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. And the thing is, but he lucked up on that, you know what I mean? And so the
and
thing,
things broke his way.
right? How many James Ellsworth will they be? You
Right.
look on television, there is none. So to your point, people really hear the wrestlers, they really have to get themselves in shape. and because the international world of wrestling is coming here in the Philippines slowly, different companies are coming here, and when, like you said, when you get guys like WWE officials come in here, you only got one chance. That window of opportunity is that freaking small, and if you don't have your shit together, your promo, your body, your psychology, hey, they're gonna pass up on you. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we have some work to do here, but I think it can happen. I really think it can happen.
Yeah, that's really something that I want to see. Like before I kick the bucket, to see a homegrown Filipino talent. That used to be my goal for the NBA, and
Mm,
hopefully Kai Soto eventually makes it there,
okay,
because he would be our biggest bet. But like here in wrestling, when we had JDL, Crystal, and Ken Warren in
right,
that WWE tryout in
right,
Shanghai. I was elated, man. Like, those are my friends. They were
right.
there. They were learning from people like Sarah Del Rey,
Hmm.
right? People like Robbie Brookside were there teaching them
Yeah.
shit. I'm like, fuck, like that's where I want our guys and girls to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing here also. You have to learn the basics first. It's okay to do the high flying shit. That's good. But they already got that there. When you get to the mecca, which is WWE, or whatever, you you're only gonna be taught, or they're only gonna let you do but so much. And if you don't know your basic, you back down totem pole. You know what I mean? So
Hey, let me add
all the
this. Let me add this. Sorry to cut in there, but you also have to remember that the goal is to be a professional wrestler. And what's the first word there? Professional. You have to act like a professional. You have to
right,
present yourself like a fucking professional.
always.
If your social media is full of dank memes and shit posts only, that's a reflection of
Mm,
you. If
nice.
you use your social media to just troll people, and
Hmm.
people can see that you're related to this company and that company, that reflects poorly on the branding of the companies you're with. So you got to
Right.
treat yourself like a professional. If you're
Yes, you
out
do.
there, and you're no longer in character, fucking act like a professional.
Hmm.
And even inside the company, you've got to treat it like a company that where you can't expect people to pay you the big money if you don't act like you deserve the big money.
Deserve to be exactly. That's right.
So that's something I'd been saying in whatever locker room I'd been in, for
Mhm.
years.
Yes.
And I believe that 100%. Like, um, I'm gonna put myself over here, but like I don't land these meetings just because.
Hmm.
I put the work in. I present
Mm.
myself, and I make the people that I deal with feel like they can trust me.
Right.
And if you
See?
act like somebody who if you act like somebody who is still in high school, or is all about the toxic behavior and all that, people aren't going to want to work with you.
No, they're not. You know what I mean? You really have to check yourself. And like you said, you have to be a professional all the time. You know what I mean? And so like the room for error very, very slim. There's a lot of people knocking on that door. A
Internet's
lot.
forever. Everything you say, that's a
Woo!
digital footprint of yours. So there's that too.
Exactly. No, they're knocking. So to people who are listening, you know, we even though it's a pandemic, we still got work to do. And
Take it
there's
from
work to
Chili.
be
Chili's a
done.
veteran. He's been there.
Exactly.
I am nobody. I'm just somebody who has
Oh no,
happened to
you
have
somebody,
conversations with people. I
brother.
just
Let me
happen to
tell
have
you.
conversations with people.
No, don't look at it like that. That you are somebody here in the Philippines, and you make it a world of difference to a lot of people. And so don't ever think that you know one or whatever. What you do, your work, you roll. You guys are doing. You putting in the work. You are seriously putting in the work. Even the guys over at Smart Henry or whatever, putting in the work. You know what I mean? So whether people don't like you or people like you, that matters shit. You know what I mean? Keep doing what you're doing. Stay positive. Stay focused. And success will come. It has already come. It's
Hey,
already hit you.
we're just trying to be like Christian Cage, right? Outwork everyone. That's the
Hmm.
mantra. He just put it in. He just put it on a T-shirt, man. But
Wow.
outwork everyone. Cody Rhodes, his favorite hashtag, do the work. I relate to
Yeah.
that shit.
Exactly.
Hey, do you
And you're
mind if I
doing it.
answer this question from Jandal in the
Yes.
comment section?
Go ahead.
So he asks if I have any message to Chinoys or Chinese Filipinos in Philippine who want to get into the Philippine pro wrestling industry. I would say that don't quit your day job because I think that applies to everybody, whether you're Chinoy or not. Don't quit your day job.
actually get a job and get 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah. So there's that, and second is don't be afraid to tap into that side of you. Like your identity as a Chinese Filipino, it's yours, and not everybody in the Philippine wrestling scene is Chinoy. That's really what I capitalized on. Like when I first got into PWR, I tried to package myself as the bastard grandson of Henry C., the owner of SM, the biggest chain of malls here in the Philippines. So like
Okay.
I tried to bank on that and be controversial that way. But then I realized that just my last name, C, makes me stand out from everybody else in that locker room. The Jake De Leons and the Chris Panzers and the Ken Warrens, because all of them are Filipino or they're half something else. But nobody else was half Chinese. Nobody else was
Okay.
of Chinese ethnicity.
I mean, smart me up real quick. I know we're gonna go soon. We're gonna cut this off soon. But really, smart me up on this. What is the issue with the Chinese in the Philippines? So like Jandal, I'm assuming Jandal's half. Handle half. Filipino
Or
Chinese.
he's Filipino of Chinese descent, which is what I am.
Okay. So because I don't know the backstory.
Sure,
Seriously,
sure.
I don't. I don't
Sure.
know the backstory between the Chinese and the Philippines.
Sure.
I mean, of course, you guys know the backstory with the white Americans and the blacks in America. Everybody know that shit. But what is it? Is it similar to that,
Dude, it goes
or
way
is
back.
there? Okay,
It goes back
That's another
centuries. It goes back centuries, you know.
Okay.
But the current issue stems from the fact that over the last several years, since I would say 2016, there's been a rise in Chinese-owned businesses here in the Philippines. So they bring in
Okay.
capital, they bring in money, right? And with that creates job opportunities. So in a vacuum, supposedly good, but a lot of these same job opportunities also went to mainland Chinese. So for a lot of Filipinos, that's where the frustration comes in,
I
right?
see.
Like,
Okay.
hey, we're out here, we also need money, we also need jobs, but why are they getting precedence over us? So that's a source of frustration. And
Okay.
then there's the political side of things where, the government has been very pro-China, despite the warts, like with the genocide of the Uyghurs, or even with the handling of the pandemic, right? So there's frustration there as well. So as a Chinoy, as a Filipino of Chinese descent, my fear is that it devolves into xenophobia, and I'm not talking about the XENO xenophobia, the fear of foreigners, but xenophobia, SINO, where anybody, as long as you're Chinese, you are an enemy. That's my fear. I don't want that to happen because that's the shit that leads to shit like the Nazis going up against the Jews, the Holocaust, and all that.
Oh, okay.
Things like the
So that's
Holocaust
what-
happen because of fear, because people fear what they don't know, and
Oh,
right,
yeah.
like that's why people like myself, the Chinoys, we try to make that distinction. Now, hold up, we're not mainland Chinese. Don't ask us if there's a war between China and the Philippines. Who the fuck are we gonna side with? We're Filipino. Like I don't consider China home. So that's a whole nother can of worms.
Okay. Thanks for enlightening me on that because I'm trying to figure out what the heat was.
No, I appreciate.
I
you
knew
asking the
I knew
question.
there was some heat. I knew there was some heat, and I'm not just talking about the West Filipino Sea. I'm just talking about going way back. I knew there was some heat between the Chinese and the Filipino, but I didn't know to what extent, the heat was or whatever. So
It's
but,
a whole nother
uh,
podcast.
yeah, whole other podcast. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, thanks for the questions, Jandel. Thanks everyone for listening, looking, checking us out. Stan, where can people find you at, brother?
So you can find me on Facebook at Stancy Online, Twitter and Instagram. It is at _Stancy. The podcasts that I do are On Deck with Stancy. Please follow that on Spotify. It's about radio DJs from the past and the present. If you want to get to unmask them, get behind the radio kayfabe, that's the podcast for you. And then, of course, if you want to hear more about the wrestling stuff, the Wrestling Podcast, that's where we're at. We're part of the Podcast Network Asia family. You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Wrestling Podcast, on Twitter and TikTok at Wrestling2XPod. The TikTok's been blowing up, brother. You better check that out.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. We've also got Kumu at Wrestling Pod, where these live streams happen every Thursdays at 7 p.m. And we've got a lot of giveaways. So we've got a promo right now where we're giving away a Mr. T WrestleMania 1 Funko Pop. So if you want to win that, go to our TikTok at Wrestling2XPod. You'll find out all the instructions, and we've got so much more wrestling swag to give away. We're so excited to do that on the podcast. And Chili, I just got to say thank you for this opportunity, because I tell Rowan Chino this. I can't talk about this too much on our podcast because I'll sound like I'm putting myself over too much.
Right.
I just want to talk about promos, man, and break them down without putting myself over too much. So I'm glad that you've given me this opportunity to just get this out there.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on. It's an honor for you to come on my show. You know what I mean? Because you're everywhere out here. I mean, you guys are doing it. You know, I'm trying to be like you guys. You know what I mean? I just started this thing, man, a couple of months ago, and you know, I'm still having issues with it, but it's fun for me. You know, it keeps me busy. You know, I'm not a pro in this shit. You know, I don't have a producer and all that, but it's just me trying to, get some content out here and keep the Philippine wrestling scene, up. And so that's just what I do. I'm getting my inspiration from you guys. You, Ro, Chino, you guys. I got to get them on also. And I really thank you for this conversation. I'm glad that we kind of went another way. I didn't really want to get it. Like you said, it's good we didn't get into the other nonsense bullshit like that. So, but yeah, thank you for coming on, Stan, man. And, best of luck to you, man, and in your endeavors. You know what I mean? Keep it going. Keep pushing
Thanks
it,
for
brother.
future endeavoring me. No, I'm kidding. But Chili, you are a real one. I appreciate you've got all the love and respect in the world for you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Take care. God bless.